back to the Fix Football podcast. It's the OGs tonight. I'm here with Liam O'Meara, I'm Martinelli, and this is the Fix Football podcast. If you have been joining or you're new and this is your first chance here, welcome. Do all the good social media stuff by liking and sharing and subscribing. Let us know what you think. Get yourselves in the comments and fill us in on where you think what we need to be addressing, what you'd like us to speak about. If you've got any points you'd like to be raised, let us know. We want to get as many people involved as possible. So please do get involved. Liam, how are you, mate?
Very well, mate. Thank you. Very well. Things are good. What about you? How are things going for you?
Things are okay. Quiet on the DJing front, but it's normal January. So I'm doing a bit of planning. I've got some music stuff in the pipeline, which is getting nearer and nearer completion. So I'm hoping to have something out on that front soon. And then, don't know, loads of stuff. Family stuff. Had the children had their christening this weekend, so that was fun.
Joint one?
Yeah, both of them done. Just to, I found it quite cathartic going back to church.
Not going every week, mine? No?
Not usually. Not religiously.
No. Unless the schools are asking.
Pardon the pun. But yeah, there's school requirements, and in the same way that our parents did, just send them to, well, not yours, you was the closest school. You couldn't get any closer.
Well, yeah.
But it's where the good schools are. Or, so I'm sure it's different for everyone, but yeah.
Or welcoming them into the real faith, mine. That's what really it's about, isn't it? We
Going
don't
back
make
to
this
church.
into a sectarian podcast, but,
But going back to church has been quite, I think cathartic is the right word. Just for a bit of peace, a bit of a wind down on Sunday morning. It's hard with two kids. It's been fine. I've enjoyed it, if anything. And yeah, so they are now baptised and ready, as I was ready to start school this September, so we'll see.
Well, we all welcome into the family of God, right? And that's welcome them both.
But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. Football stuff. It's been a long old week since we last recorded. I feel like there's a lot happened, especially with the sort of coming to the end of the Christmas period.
Well, it provoked us to emergency release an early podcast, didn't it?
Messing with people's heads.
Yeah. Ash's mum didn't know what was going on.
She'd lost it there, the poor woman, I know. So, back to regularly scheduled programming this week. But, should we address last week? What was last week? Those Man City dropped points again. Arsenal played Liverpool. Do you want to touch on that in the second half?
Well, I will. I suppose the only thing that would change this from being is if Thomas Frank gets sacked between now and then, because I've got a feeling that might happen. Please
just hold on. Or Liverpool get pumped by Barnsley tonight, or whoever they're playing.
I think we'll be all right on that front. But it's nice for someone else to play Barnsley in the cup. I feel like it's usually a reserve for us. That I feel like we play Barnsley every week. So it's just weird. I feel like it's going to be weird watching Barnsley play against a different team, to be honest. But yeah, unless Thomas Frank gets sacked, I think we'll come back to that. But yeah, I think after our release, we made a lot of talk about Amrin, didn't we? And that we thought it was going to happen, but we didn't necessarily think it was going to happen as quickly as it did. But
no, Luke rightly predicted that it was probably going to be the coming weeks and days, and this thing would spill out and it would become a bit messy. Little did we know that. Well,
I think I saw a tweet before we went to bed that night, and I think I've messaged it going, this could be date. There was a tweet that went out about a meeting. I remember saying to you guys, throw ahead, I went, this could be days. And again, I didn't think that literally the very next morning he would be gone. Like, it would, it would have happened overnight that night. It was, and Luke rightfully predicted that it was over. I must admit, I felt as if there was more. I felt like it was almost the beginning of the end. It was a little bit like it was going to go down the Maresca line of maybe 2 or 3 weeks, a little bit, something else would happen.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to unravel quite quickly, but it seems there was a lot more to this Jason Wilcox meeting than maybe we thought at the time.
Very much so. The Man United world has been weird and crazy for a long time now. The post-Ferguson era. It's had its ups, sparsely, and it's been a lot of downs and a bit of a roller coaster. This last 18 months under Ruben Amorim, just over a year really, has been terrible. the worst results-wise in their history, in modern history. The transfers have been poor and unexplainable to an extent, and clearly there's been a massive breakdown. I feel like Ruben Amorim has held himself well when he's been speaking to the media, which seemingly
He's a
like
good guy,
every like 4 or 5 hours there seems to be another Ruben Amorim interview.
He seems a good guy, but I'm not so sure. I think he was out of his depth ultimately, wasn't he?
Well, the thing is, and I think the major point here is, so we've seen Enzo Maresca that we spoke about recently lose his job after coming out against the board. We'd spoke a few weeks prior that he had the worst 48 hours of his life, and that's trickled on for 2 or 3 weeks until he ended up losing his job New Year's Day. The Ruben Amorim one, Man United did have an excuse to sack him. His results have been terrible, forgetting the fact that they'd picked up recently when he'd gone back to a formation that the players actually knew how to play. That's sort of beside the point. He still had the backing of Jim Ratcliffe and the board around him, and that this project was something that they were willing to double down on. And it took Jim Ratcliffe to come out and say, no, we are behind him. And it sort of alleviated a little bit of pressure. And I think since then, the last maybe 6 to 12 weeks, I can't say for results because I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but certainly their league position shows that things have been getting better.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But that all comes to a head the second Ruben Amorim randomly criticises the board. And
well, it appeared random, didn't it?
It appeared random, you're right. And I'm sure everyone's seen a few stories recently and bits of other details that have come out. But this all came to a head once Ruben Amorim and Jason Wilcox have had some form of confrontation. We're not sure about the details of what that is.
That day, wasn't it? It was that day of the meeting. Yeah.
And he has subsequently came out and told him to do his job, for want of a better word, in not so many more words than that. To basically, you do your job, I'll do mine, and in 18 months we'll all be on our way. 24 hours later, he's gone. So that just shows that, despite everything, that was a breaking point for the board and him. And fair play to Man United, I think they've done well here and not hung on to anything. In the same way that when it wasn't working with Dan Ashworth, they just cut ties and they were gone. So they seem to act quite quickly when things like this come along. I mean, what have I missed anything here when we're just summarising it before we get into opinions?
No, I think you've summarised it quite well. I think ultimately he wasn't in a position where he could dictate. He didn't have anywhere near the credit in the bank to go and have that discussion. It's a very similar but also very different situation than Maresca one. Whereas Maresca had 2 major trophies last season. Amorim failed to qualify for Europe with Man United.
Can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, they went out of the cup yesterday as well. So I can't remember a season where Manchester United only played 2 cup games. Do you remember all those years we used to hear United season tickets moaning about they had to buy all the cup games?
Yeah.
They've got away with one this year, I think. They don't have all these cup games to buy, have they? We had the one home cup game.
Madness.
I've never seen a team be able to focus on the league as much as Man United can focus on the league this year.
There's never been so much focus on one competition.
Yeah, just so focused.
So, where do we stand right now? Darren Fletcher is the interim before the
interim.
Yeah, the interim before the interim, where it's suspected that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer might take the reins after the next game. That's the rumour. That's where we're sitting.
Well, it's between Solskjaer and Carrick, isn't it, by the looks of things?
Carrick's the other name, yeah.
It's not as clean-cut Solskjaer as maybe it felt like it was early doors. Carrick seems to have impressed people. But do you see what I don't understand, actually? Henry Winter on TalkSport made a really good point about this. Darren Fletcher's been a coach around here for 5 years. There's no conversations about him potentially taking over. So what does that say about the calibre of coaches they've got at Man United? Where someone who's been at the club that long, they don't believe is of a level that could take the job permanently. And I just thought that was a very interesting observation, I thought.
Maybe.
Did it say a lot about the people that are around Man United? That they're not the best in class?
Well, I mean, Darren Fletcher he might be certainly a good coach, and he might be you might have the managerial chops, but Man United is your first job, like permanent job like that.
There's been a few gigs. They've had Solskjaer.
Was it permanent?
Yeah,
Solskjaer's wasn't his first job.
But this would be, if you're thinking about an interim to the end of the season, it should. I don't know. Well, we don't need to go down this rabbit hole too far, but I just thought it was an interesting observation about the calibre of people maybe that are at Man United.
Yeah, although there's maybe no desire from Fletcher either to do that. I'm not sure. I don't know about that one. What do you think about them going back to Solskjaer?
Well, after I stopped laughing.
Once you had wiped away the tears.
Yeah. It's outrageous. I mean, but
there seems to be like a positive feeling around this with Man United fans. The ones that I'm seeing.
Otherwise, they just when it comes to Solskjaer, they just you can't have an honest conversation. How you feel about United fans talking about Solskjaer is how often I feel about Arsenal talking to you. Like you just feel like you just can't. They just can't have the subjectivity just goes out the window.
Yeah, but
when it comes,
I do this on purpose in our WhatsApp group to
maybe you play the part well. I would say if you're doing that
on but here, I'm very honest.
But I would say, what do I actually think? I mean, if you definitely want an interim, then it makes sense because you would think that lessons have been learned about. And I think the interim approach does make sense because I think there's going to be some high caliber coaches available. We talked about this in the last podcast, didn't we? I think there's going to be some high caliber coaches available in the summer. Loads of them. Not just the World Cup ones. There's also going to be domestically. You've got Glasner potentially. You've got, I think, Conte at Napoli's up for renew every year. There's going to be good coaches around in the summer. So I think it makes perfect sense to wait. And it also means that they probably don't have to invest heavily in this window as well, which is probably ideal for them.
Unless, I disagree slightly, unless they have their eye on someone already. Unless they are really penciling in on like Oliver Glasner and conversations have already started for someone for that.
Duncan Castles threw an interesting name in the mix, didn't he, on his podcast of Ancelotti after the Brazil World Cup.
So this is the other one. Is waiting till after the World Cup is the whole excuse of what we got about Amorim. First time around, he came in around this time into his tenure. Was it January or February or something like that, whenever he came in?
Yeah, February. We'll go with February.
And he needed... The big excuse here is that he wanted to play this sort of system, and he needed a window. He needed a window and he needed a pre-season to get it all done. And he had that. Things didn't work out. Not learning from your mistakes here is Man United's biggest faults. And forget what we just said about Solskjaer, that's another one. But to hire a manager after the World Cup, because say what you want about Man United job, it isn't a massive job anymore. It's a world of shit getting the Man United job right now. Unless you're someone as unfazable as Carlo Ancelotti. He's the only name I could think you could bring in and it doesn't faze him. Because he has literally done everything multiple times at the biggest stages everywhere. Including in the Premier League already as well.
Zidane, maybe?
Yes.
I think that'd be a bad appointment, by the way. But I'm just thinking of that calibre and we're looking for the aura, if you will. That type of manager, yeah?
So to bring someone in post-World Cup is, again, shortening that window. They've got to... they've got to adjust the chair in the office. They've got to put the name on the door and stuff like that. All this takes so much time. They've got to get on the pitch at some point and start concentrating on shaping the new look Manchester United. I think the permanent manager should be now.
But you're limiting your options massively, though.
But I think the man who they wanted all along is right there waiting in Gareth Southgate. I know he's not going to be a popular choice. But I think he's exactly what Manchester United need. He might be the 3-year stopgap that gets them to a point where they need to then progress. The Brendan Rodgers for Jurgen Klopp. I believe that is the way, and I don't think there'd be a better man to do it. I've been a critic of Gareth Southgate. I've learned to love him for his success of what he did with England, and not just what we did on the pitch, but everything that he created surrounding it as well. And the group that he built.
To me, Gareth Southgate, right? Sir Gareth Southgate. He's one of those managers, right, that you wish on other clubs. Like, you kind of want him to do well, but you definitely, let's say Arteta went to Real Madrid, right? I don't know what his allegiances are. I know he's Basque, but
Barcelona.
Is it Barcelona? Oh, is he at La Masia? Is he? Yeah. All right. So let's say he went to Barcelona, right? You wouldn't have Southgate, would you? You wouldn't want him anywhere near Arsenal.
No, I don't think he suits Arsenal.
For our listeners there, my eyes rolled back so far I nearly fell off my chair.
He doesn't.
He doesn't suit anyone. He doesn't suit a top 6 club. He just doesn't. He just doesn't. He's a politician as more of a football than a football manager. And I think he did very well with England. And I agree. He took England to a far place. But I think he'd be so unpopular at Man United. It just wouldn't work. It'd be Rafa Benitez to Chelsea. It's just destined to fail.
But there's no logic in that. I'm merely looking at for no reason.
Yeah, but it's because he has a perception of almost like an FA yes man type perception, doesn't he?
Yes, Man United need to hire one of them. What do they can't hire Sir Alex Ferguson again. I'd love you to get onto a point that you'd like to raise about Sir Alex and his.
Yeah, that smell, lingering smell.
I was going to say legacy, but
well, we could talk about that word, but anyway, we'll come back to him. Another Knight of the Realm. I don't disagree with some of your logic, and I feel like he could handle. I just don't see him getting the fans on board.
Yeah, but
I just don't see that.
From an unlogical stance.
I know, but sometimes vibes matter. I know we always like to joke about vibes, but they are important.
Yeah, I think it's
vibes are off there, big time.
I can't get my head around why he wouldn't work well at Manchester United. That everything has been built to suit him. Almost.
Who do United fans want? If only we had a Man United expert. But who do they actually want? Man United fans.
I don't know. I'm not sure of the names, but all the big ones will be bandied around. And well, let's face it, the state that Manchester United are at the moment is, without giving someone a ridiculous contract, you're going to have to go for someone more along the lines of a Liam McKenna or someone like that who has a sort of history with the club, who isn't tarnished by past failures and the fans want to get behind because he plays a certain style of football, rather than an Antonio Conte who's just immediately going to go in, a Diego Simeone. Not saying that Manchester United aren't big enough to attract them, they still are, but it doesn't take a genius to work out where they are at as a football club right now.
I think there's 2 or 3 realistic options that I would, semi-realistic options that I would consider.
Let's hear them.
Number 1, and it'd be expensive to do it, but it's probably along the lines of your Southgate call, but probably a better manager, is Eddie Howe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the outstanding candidate as far as I can see.
Okay.
Number 2 is Conte.
Yeah.
And number 3 is Glasner. The problem with Glasner is, and we've talked about this before, people just assume that that's a really good fit because of the formation being similar. You know, the 3 at the back with the sort of...
No.
But can you remember how many Premier League teams have won the title? Well, how many top flight teams have won the title playing 3 at the back?
Yeah, 1 probably.
1 ever. Chelsea under Conte. The only time it's ever happened in the history of English football. Once. And
they changed mid-season to that. It's like, and they didn't stick with it after.
Did it 1 year. And that's the current system that the hierarchy of Man United are building around. The system that's won the top flight once ever.
Yeah.
You know, and that you start thinking about that project then. Do you know, like, Glasner probably is the most natural fit because his football is very similar to Amorim's football and arguably has a better CV with now Frankfurt with European success and what he's done at Palace.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think I rate Glasner as a manager, but I think he's great for Crystal Palace. I understand him wanting to be ambitious and, turning down the Crystal Palace contracts, but I don't think Man United's a good fit. I don't know if...
I think he's Bayern Munich's next manager. I think I've said this before.
Yeah.
I see him at Bayern Munich, but it could be Man United.
So,
if I was a Palace fan, though, just on the side note, just if I was a Palace fan, I wouldn't like that situation. The idea of him definitely leaving at the end of the year. For me, if you're not part, I kind of get the idea of keeping a great manager as long as you can keep him for. But for me, if you're half out the building in your head, like you're not part of the projects anymore. You've already left the project. If you've got an end date, you're off the train in my head. I think I'd want him gone, but I don't know. I'm not a Palace fan. I'll let them worry about that.
They've got other things to worry about. We'll get on that. We'll get onto that in the second half. Finally, on Manchester United, talk to me about Sir Alex and his lasting impressions, or continued impressions, if you will.
I don't understand. I really, really don't understand the fact that he would.
Yeah, I'm getting mafia vibes that everything seemingly good needs his approval, his sign off, his well wishes. Like, I don't understand.
I want to know where it's coming from, because it just seems that it felt like the Ineos were trying to not push him away, but they kind of realised this because he stopped that payout, didn't he? That family payout and the free tickets to his family. That all stopped, didn't it, with Ineos? So it was like $3 million a year that Ferguson was getting as a bonus or as a payment to being a director payment, something along those lines. Allegedly. If I've got that wrong, allegedly, in my opinion, if that's wrong, but it's something along those lines, I think.
Okay.
And they stopped that. So that, to me, indicated that they understood that this was a bit of an issue, trying to move away from it. Because let's be honest, right? Alex Ferguson, fantastic football manager, one of the best to ever do it. Probably the defining football manager of our lives. But he's been at the game for, 15 years now? 12 to 15 years?
Yeah.
It's a very different game.
Massively different.
Yeah.
It was becoming different as he left, and I think he knew that as well.
Yeah. So, is he the best? And this idea of Darren Fletcher, I had to go and get his blessing before I took the job. What are you talking about? You're a grown man. Right. We're back at Solskjaer won't park in his space. It's such outrageously weird behaviour.
Gets to the point like, are you allowed to sit in his chair in the dugout? Like, is this what are you allowed to use his coat peg in the changing room?
Seem to just not have an issue with this. Like,
yeah.
I roll my eyes as a Bolton fan every time I hear someone say, "Let's give it Big Sam to the end of the season." I would stop going if that happened. Right? Well, honestly, I would, because it's just stupid. This idea of I just don't. But this is different because Ferguson sends some genuine influence at Man United.
He does. And not just that, it's we touch on, I think this subject, what I'm about to say, is a podcast in itself and something I've wanted to do, but let's call them the disciples of Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah, there we go.
The media, the class of 92 influence on the footballing world. You've got Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, Rio Ferdinand, Wayne Rooney, anyone who's ever touched Manchester United.
Except Roy Keane on this issue.
Except Roy Keane, to be fair.
But he's bad on other issues, to be fair.
Yes. Like, they champion this. God, not just... I understand managers putting their arm around players in the same way Harry Redknapp does, but players don't talk about Harry Redknapp the way they speak about Sir Alex Ferguson. Harry Redknapp had this father-like figure, this put your arm around you, get the best out of you. Sir Alex Ferguson has this godlike figurehead status still at Manchester United with these adult men with some of them grandchildren.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? I find it hard to articulate just how
Me too.
ridiculous it is.
We need some time with this one.
Just like talking about Alex Ferguson, Sir Alex Ferguson is a podcast in itself. He's almost created an influential media super cult and like that just consistently just champions all these aspirations and
Absolutely.
like he seems to have an element of monetization to it all as well. Like
let's try and be a bit more human about it. I reckon he still very much loves being a part of Man United and loves being as involved as he wants to be from the stands, and Man United don't want to take that away either and want to keep someone, especially someone so successful, keep him around as a bit more of an inspirational figure. But what we're seeing is someone a little bit more than that. And Darren Fletcher's quotes have been the weirdest ones that we've seen so far, but everything's been leading up to that a little bit getting there.
Wasn't he consulted on Fletcher? Isn't that what was emerged, that he was at least in part of the discussion? I'm not going to say he definitely wouldn't have made any decisions. But
I reckon he's been consulted on all of them since he left.
Yeah.
We know he had a hand in Moyes, and everyone going forward after that, I reckon he's still had some form of influential chat, whether it's just an advisory style or more than that.
Well, his fingerprints were all over the failed Ronaldo return, weren't they?
I believe so, yeah. And again, that
allegedly,
was another one.
in my opinion.
No, I don't think there's a secret that he was involved in conversations there. It's weird. I see a real slow, hard to watch ending to the season now for Man United. I mean, hilarious for us. The WhatsApp group will be on fire for a while.
Well, no, because they're barely ever playing. So
yeah,
just on Monday nights. Yeah, just gives us something to do on a Monday night.
So
we'll have to record on different nights if we want to talk about United.
That's it, yeah. Well, everything will be like a week late. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a slow drag out, this one. Weird. I think they need, personally, and if I was a Manchester United fan, I would want the next guy in now. And if it's going to be someone who starts at the end of the season, I want him from, May the 15th. The end of the Premier League season, I want the new manager announced and he can get to work. Because this waiting for the World Cup thing is going to kill me. If I'm a Man United manager.
That's Glasner then, isn't it?
Fan. Yes. In this position,
or Southgate, but I can't see that.
There may be some other names who crop up. I'm not sure who. But we've just seen Chelsea go for Liam Rosenior. Maybe it's another disciple of the more modern Man United, like a Liam McKenna. I'm not sure. Maybe Michael
Kieran McKenna.
Sorry, who's Liam McKenna? Why do I keep saying that? Is he a football?
I don't know.
I
thought let the first one go, but second time I thought they're going to think that we both don't know.
My subtitles, I'm messing the subtitles up. Kieran McKenna. I always said that. Okay, let's leave Man United there. We're going to have a quick break. We've got a lot to talk about in the second half, so stick with us. If you are still listening, which I'm sure you are, clearly, stats say you are, subscribe for me. The audience is growing, and we need you. There's loads to be involved with. I broke it on the last episode, but the World Cup Predictions League is coming, and it's coming big. With graphics and Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoints and a lot of ChatGPT, hopefully. Like, share, subscribe. Yep. We'll see you in a minute. And we're back. Still not found a good intro for the second half, but here we are nonetheless. Liam, there's a multitude of topics to catch up on from the previous week and previous weekend. Where would you like to start?
Should we start at the biggest talking point of the week's football, man? An uncomfortable topic
for about 24 hours. Yeah, sure.
I think it is, and I think it's got his hat trick hasn't helped him in the sense of putting him under scrutiny, because the news of Conor Bradley's demise, that it's quite a serious injury, came out whilst Martinelli was bagging a hat trick with a massive smile on his face, shutting up the haters, probably not knowing that his whole reputation was being ripped apart on social media while he was doing this, playing quite well in a tricky cup game. I think
First
he did
of all-
well in that game.
First of all, for people who don't know what you're about to talk about, just give it a bit of context here.
So, late in the Liverpool-Arsenal fixture, where Arsenal...
Terrible match, by the way. That's my opinion on it. It was a poor match, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a classic, tough, top-of-the-table clash, wasn't it? I think an improving Liverpool met an Arsenal that were determined not to lose the game and felt that they could win on set pieces. I think it's trickier when you're up against Van Dijk and Canate when that's your strategy. They won't allow themselves to be bullied.
You hope to catch them out, not just use that as your main tactic.
Gabriel's not going to have the same aura when he's up against his aura, the Mr. Aura of Virgil van Dijk. That is the battle of the set piece auras, aren't it? So, but I think it was a very much a point that both of them probably would have taken. I think Liverpool conceded they're probably not in a title race anymore and are trying to get some semblance of form together, and I think that kind of result will give them confidence. And Arsenal, not losing at home against the current champions. Let's remember that Liverpool are the current champions. When you're 6 points clear,
6
now 7.
now, yeah, it could have been 8,
now?
and I would have loved 8. Yeah, that would have been. It would have been close to the number that I want to be at when we do play Man City. So late in the game, I can't remember if there's a ball that goes over the top. I can't remember if Martinelli's behind Conor Bradley or in front of him.
I think slightly. Happens. I think Conor Bradley was slightly ahead.
Right. Conor Bradley goes to control the ball over his shoulder.
Yeah, he stretches, doesn't he?
Lands funny. Clearly a jarring knee issue. Goes down in a heap. Looks in real pain. Everyone, commentators give it it's not good. Just clearly.
You say everyone. You say everyone. Everyone. You would say everyone knew it was bad.
This is the point. The only point that I'm going to make in defence here is that everyone who saw it sees this. Now, you can see, regardless, forget, and there's no defence here from me. You continue.
Whilst Conor Bradley, to us, and I'm going to give element of benefit of the doubt here to Martinelli, obvious to us that this looked pretty serious quite quickly. If it wasn't just the way he went down, it was the screaming in agony made it look like there might be something wrong with him. However, Gabriel Martinelli, clearly frustrated. He's had a relatively good game and a big game, and he struggled to hold down a starting place in the Arsenal team. So really wanted to take his opportunity when it comes. Wants to get the game moving on quickly. Conor Bradley still half on the pitch, half off the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
At which point, in frustration, firstly, and this is where my sympathy with Martinelli ends, because I do think that he maybe doesn't realise how serious it is. Maybe because he's so focused on the fact of the game trying to win, he maybe thinks that he's time wasting. Now, I think most people wouldn't have thought that Conor Bradley's doing that. However, we're not in here to analyse. I know Jason Cundy has made this into a massive idea of this is Martinelli's, hold him to Martinelli's own standard.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go that far with it. But I think this is the issue. Firstly, he drops the ball on him. And he is dropping the ball on him. He didn't throw the ball on him, as has been suggested. He drops the ball on him, which is classless, first of all, right? Then a little bit of a knee nudge. Then followed by the attempt to drag him off. And my empathy for Martinelli ends on 3 acts. And then, not only that, he continues to try and get to him. And I think it's quite clear that it's serious by that point.
Yeah. And I think
it's a case of heads gone by that point.
Yeah. A lot of water has gone under the bridge at that point. And I think it's only when Alisson is walking him away that I think the message is conveyed that this is more than what you think it is. Stuff starts to calm down. There's still people.
So you think that maybe there's a language thing and Alisson was able to...
I think he was definitely able to communicate it properly, the quickest to him.
I must admit, I did applaud Martinelli's perfectly English statement after.
I'm not saying he can't speak English, but
no, what I'm saying is it was very, very, very well written, high quality English was kind of what I thought in that written statement after. But
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not.
I am, just for the record. Yeah. But I might be, again, just an observation. I might be completely
in
wrong.
all of it, I think, and I know Arteta echoed this on after the Portsmouth match, but when Arne Slot was asked directly after it and immediately diffused it perfectly in saying he doesn't think he's a bad person. He's clearly acted stupidly. That's not verbatim, but he's clearly done something really, really bad here. Something really unsportsmanlike that you don't want to see. Certainly, I don't want to see that. If he had any inkling that he was seriously injured, Martinelli's not the type of player to do that, even in the heat of the moment, if he knew.
I'll be honest about that. He handled it very like a politician, so almost impressive levels of restraint. Not sure I'd have liked that if I was a Liverpool fan, to be completely honest. In the heat of the moment, I think I'd have wanted a bit more.
Yeah, but I'm
not sure what it achieves either.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't achieve anything.
I think Slot had the opportunity to create a gung-ho siege mentality moment to think, right, fuck everyone else, we're against everyone, this is classless for my...
Eduardo.
Create a real enemy in Arsenal at this point. And I think he handled it brilliantly because he is very aware that he has bigger issues at hand than creating an enemy in the Champions elect, if you will. Yeah, I thought he was brilliant at it. Arteta said that he had seen it, didn't like it, and will speak to him, which is the first time I've seen Arteta do something like that in his, and then basically came out and thanked Arne Slot for speaking maybe a bit better on it than he did as well. Yeah, it was not good to see.
It's
Didn't
not
like
Arteta's
it.
strength, is it? I wouldn't say Arteta's a master politician.
No. But it's the first time I've seen him, aside from calling a red card stupid from one of our own players, it's the first time I've seen that sort of, yeah, I didn't like that side of him. So, yeah, I think it was, I don't know if blown out of proportion is the right way
no,
here,
I don't
because
think
I think it was a stinky thing that Martinelli did. But I think common sense has prevailed in the way that the better spoken and better educated of us have looked at it and gone, he didn't know, and I don't think he would have acted like that if he did. That doesn't excuse the fact of what he did, but it does give some sort of backstory.
No about that, but what I will say is,
how can you disagree with that?
No. What I'm saying is, I don't know if he didn't know.
He didn't know it was serious. He seriously did. He's the only one, literally, of almost the whole stadium.
I
doesn't
wonder
see
what point he realised.
Yeah, well lit.
And what I would say is, by the way, I'm not doing it just to try and prolong it and dig Martinelli out any more than he needs to. But I don't know about not knowing. What I would say is that when the emotions are high, you can make mistakes. And I think more of that than the knowing or not knowing. Because I'll be honest, I think if he didn't know right at the start, I'd be surprised if he didn't know at the third of the three acts. And only he will know, right? I'm just not quick to say he definitely didn't know either. But what I will say is that when your emotions are up, you can make mistakes. And we're all human, and we're all human in that. And I think that's where I line with it. And he's still a young guy that's made a mistake. And by all accounts, he's spoken to Conor Bradley. He's very quick to say that in his very well-written statement.
What are you suggesting here? That someone else did it? Is that what you're suggesting? I can't work you out here. Like a brick wall.
That's obviously what I'm trying to say. But that's what they have PR teams for, I suppose. Not a bad thing. You know, he probably still means it. Just because, anyway, I think the main thing we all want is, obviously, Conor Bradley's got surgery coming up, and hopefully his recovery is good, because you were right. I didn't like seeing it, because obviously Conor Bradley's a player that I like from his time at Bolton, and it's been amazing what he's been able to do in his career, and he's still only young himself at 22, and the fact that he's been able to establish himself, even with Frimpong coming in as the starting right back at Liverpool, I think has been amazing. But you know, unfortunately, it's come at a terrible time for this injury, I think, for his career.
Yes. Yeah, I do wish him all the best.
Northern Ireland could be playing in the World Cup this year. They're not out.
One of the more likeable Liverpool players as well. Just knuckles down, good. Anyway, whatever. Wish him all the best. I hope the prognosis is a little bit better over the next coming days following thing? Because we've not had confirmation that it is ACL, and it
I don't
sort
think
of
they've
looked
said-
that
I
way
think
the way it
it's-
felt. They said serious, though.
They said bone. I think it was bone and ligament, they said. But they didn't say ACL. Again, only they will know what.
No.
And it's usually out by now if it's ACL.
Yeah. Next subject on the horizon. In fact, you mentioned it then. Let's talk about Bolton Wanderers for a little minute. Bolton Wanderers, Mr. Schumacher is taking a bit of a beating online at the moment, and results basically all through Christmas have been underwhelming, to say the least.
Stinking results.
Being
Stinking
kind.
the gaff out, yeah.
And
Poor.
the trickiest of fixtures for your team, Liam, is coming up next weekend in Wigan away.
Yes. So I will once again be heading down to, was it the Brick Community Stadium now, isn't it?
I have no idea what it's called these days.
Yeah, the Brick Community Stadium. I'll be heading there for an early kickoff this time, 12:30.
What's the feeling now? Could this be his last game?
No. I don't know if it's as terminal as that. However, there are moments of discontent. I think they're premature. But what I will say is that there is an expectation this season, and we're not playing that well. And I think that's the ultimate judge. It's not necessarily the results, it's the performances. I didn't think we'd get anything in the Peterborough game. I was pretty sure we would lose that game, and we were worse than I thought we'd be. I think that was what concerned me.
Check the league table, more so because I didn't realise it was a league game. I just assumed cup game when I was looking at the
we went
fixtures.
out the cup to League 2 Swindon.
So I was checking the table and noticed that I think there were 6 places between you and Peterborough, like 3 points.
Yeah, it's very
there's a
very
massive
congested.
bunching up in League One right now. I think Cardiff, it looks like they're going to be pulling away.
Yeah.
But the rest
I would
of it,
agree.
despite this terrible run of form, seems to be not terminal yet.
No,
I
exactly.
mean, you just said that about Schumacher, but
Yeah, exactly. I think we need to string some results together, and everyone will say the same thing. But I honestly think we do lack quality. We've got a very unbalanced team at the moment with players with quite high quality and players with low. And the problem is, I think now is because of that, teams are able to really
exploit.
negate our strengths because our weaknesses they can leave be. And I think I touched on last week this idea of slow build-up play.
Yeah.
So that's still the fact. But what's tending to happen is that these overloads that we were getting, we're not getting now because teams can effectively double and triple up. And you could very much see it this weekend with Causey Dewberry. It was at times triple. As soon as he was on the ball, the centre midfielder was coming in. The left centre-back was helping out for a cover. And essentially they're leaving a spare centre mid for Bolton because they just don't trust that Bolton are able to shift it, the possession quick enough.
Okay.
So we really need some quality. But the problem is our squad's so bloated that we're having to get rid of people before it. And I worry. I just worry that we're able to bring in the quality that we need.
I'm going to ask you a question as if I am the uneducated football fan who has just seen former Premier League European contenders now just wallowing away in League One.
It shouldn't be hard for you to play that role, but go on. What
is stopping Bolton going out and spending the right money to become, at the very least, the by far and away best team in League One?
Sustainability.
Yeah.
So there is the Bolton aren't unwealthy. The ownership group is there. It is a consortium of owners. It's not just a single chairwoman in Sharon Britton. She is the chairwoman, but she is a minority stakeholder, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a case of not wanting to do that, making the conscious decision to not gamble on promotions instead.
Is that frustrating for you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit. A little bit.
I would be, yeah,
because I think it is there to be done. The challenge is the Championship.
Yes,
but you've got to get there first. I just worry. Recently, it's been 7 years since we're in the Championship now.
It's a long time.
Yeah, I'm increasingly worried that we are now a League One club.
Yeah.
I don't perceive us that way. I very much perceive us as a Championship club. But
that gap is going to, like, for a while there hasn't been much of a gap between, let's say, the bottom half of the Championship and the top half of League One. That's a little bit interchangeable, certainly with a group of clubs. Bolton always missing out for the last couple of years, but that gap is getting bigger and bigger. And look, the money that's being spent in the Championship, just the sort of sponsorship
that's a
deals that are
separate
going
problem.
on.
Like if we go, the argument is to compete, we probably do need more investment.
Yep.
If we want to compete, which, is often used as a stick to beat the ownership with by almost accusing them of not wanting to get promotion because of that. But and maybe because Bolton's a very saleable club at the moment. The debt level's quite low.
Yeah.
The infrastructure, they own the stadium, they own the training ground. The connection is fine. So there is a school of thought that they're essentially waiting to be sold. Don't know if I necessarily subscribe to that, but it is frustrating. It is frustrating because I think we're 3 or 4 signings off promotion.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's Bolton Wanderers for you, mate. I don't know. I worry about it as a entity just never being a thing again in our area, which I would like to see. I'd like to see the dizzying heights. I'm not even necessarily saying Premier League, but just something more.
Big games.
Yeah, you know more as well as I do. You live even closer, but the buzz around the area on a match day. We've lived through the Premier League years there. It's a whole different area now. I mean,
I get that. I get that. I'll tell you what though, if we lose at Wigan, I'll be sounding very different next week.
I look forward to it.
I will be as toxic as they come. No fixture gets under my skin than that one. So if we lose at Wigan, I think quite relaxed that I am now. Even though I'm being negative, I think I'm quite balanced. Things aren't great.
Bookmark this, people. It's coming.
Yeah, but if we lose, I will be toxic, Liam. Horrendous. Calling heads.
Right. Lastly on the agenda, in fact, just do a quick overview on Arsenal. We obviously threw in the FA Cup for this weekend, 4-1 against Portsmouth. Good result. I like the FA Cup. We could have done a bit of an FA Cup episode today, but I don't think much has gone on other than the Macclesfield one.
I think we've done it to death, haven't we, to be honest?
Yeah, over the last couple of seasons.
I did think the same thing, but I thought we've talked about replays. But
Macclesfield v Palace is non-league knocking out the holders is a big one. It's about as big as it gets, really.
Yeah, and obviously, like a lot of people, I watched that game and it was relatively comfortable. Like, it wasn't...
Glasman's torn into him, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, when Pina scored the free kick, things got a little bit tense towards the end. But before that went in, it didn't feel like Palace, and a pretty strong Palace team as well. It didn't feel like they were making any kind of headway before that goal went in.
As for Arsenal, what I like at the third round, especially when we get a team a few leagues below us, is seeing that rotation. The other thing this season is because our squad's so big and powerful.
To be fair, no one has mentioned that you've got a big squad. I didn't know that until you just said that.
But it's been well used as well this season. We've seen a lot of everyone who featured, other than maybe Kepa and Norgard. We've seen a lot of everyone else in one area as well, maybe.
Norgard's played a lot in Europe, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's certainly featured more as a substitute, especially in Europe than domestically. Kepa's featured in all the cups. Skelly and Ben White have. So, yeah, good result. Obviously, got the scare early on at Portsmouth. I think 3 minutes in, but it sort of helped, if anything, that it was so early that we could just be like, we'll be fine.
I saw the second half of the Arsenal game, and I had a feeling that you conceded because my phone went nuts. So I had a feeling that you'd conceded early, but I must admit I had no expectations that you weren't going to win that game.
No, me neither. And I'm not being overconfident there. That's just one where I think I've got bigger fish to fry, and I
it wasn't like the comparative game is Liverpool-Plymouth last year, but Slot played kids in that game, didn't he?
Yeah, a lot.
And yeah, you're right. It was a rotated squad, but Norgard is an international You know, Lewis Skelly is an international. Ben White turned his back on his nation. So the top players going into that game. It's a very different thing.
Yeah. Anywho, I'm trying to think of any other standout results. We said Man United went out. That was to Brighton. Aston Villa v Spurs was a good match. Aston Villa went through there. You've already mentioned Thomas Frank, so we'll wait on bated breath to just see if he retains his job. I'm trying to think if there's any more upsets that you could think of. Yes,
absolutely nuts if they sack him, by the way. But I've got a feeling they're going to do it. I've got a feeling that's going to happen. I think.
Stay tuned. We might be on Monday.
Yeah.
We won't. We haven't done enough.
Sheffield United went out against
Sheffield United went out. Yeah, was it 4-1?
4-3 it finished.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, 4-3.
Okay.
I hate to see Chris Wilder disappointed. You know, one of the nice guys in football.
Man United hitting 10. Man City, hitting 10 past Exeter, which was just highlighted. I know Man City are very, very good. And Exeter.
You need to score 10.
It looked like shooting practice. It looked like a training session, like a pre-season match against. I don't even want to name the type of club who it was against, but you know what I'm talking about. The levels was just ridiculous, and Exeter scored a great goal as well for the goal of the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because I think some of the narrative before that game was Exeter requesting that City give them all the match receipts, didn't they?
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they put it in the media, which I think was not a great move.
Ah, I didn't see that.
So I don't know if you know about the Exeter situation, but it's a fan-owned club, Exeter. And
Yeah.
It's going through a bit of financial trouble because they had some difficult decisions by a couple of executives, I think. So they sort of overspent. So they're in a bit of a hole. So this fixture's kind of dug them out a little bit. So I think they were trying to milk it for everything it's worth, and we're disappointed they didn't get picked for TV. I mean, you know, TV missed out on a right classic there by the looks of things, a right end-to-end game. An 11-goal thriller that TNT passed up on by the same things.
And yeah, I'm trying to think of other highlights. But an overall resounding success for the FA Cup, I think, this weekend. Hopefully we will see the quarterfinals sold off to Saudi Arabia just in the same way that the Barcelona Super Cup, is this right?
It is the Super Cup, yeah.
Spanish Super Cup was sold off for the final to Saudi Arabia. That's called a smooth segue, Liam.
The semi-finals, isn't it?
What is?
So it's 4 teams that could be in the Spanish Super Cup. 2 semi-finals and a final.
Was it not the final?
No. So the 2 semi-finals was the Madrid derby. You might have seen in the news.
Yeah.
Vinny Junior and Simeone kicking off.
Yeah.
So that was a semi-final in Saudi, and the other semi-final was Athletic Club versus Barcelona. I think it was 4-0.
Right.
To Barcelona. I think they scored like 4 goals in 15 minutes or something in the first half. It was 4-0 at half time. I
wondered why they were playing so close together, but they've obviously gone out there at the end of their winter break and then continued this cup format over there.
La Liga is still happening at home, just with those games.
So that has returned. Okay. Yeah. So let's just go over this. We have touched on sort of matches abroad recently, especially when it was announced about Spain playing league matches in America and Italy playing some in Australia,
which have all been cancelled. So you don't need to go and listen to them pods again.
Yeah,
it's all been cancelled.
So but I mean, what's the news, Ian? What's the story? What are we talking about?
We're talking about money, ultimately, aren't we? And I think it's when people hear this story, just assume it's greed that drives these decision makers. And I think that's a little bit unfair, because you've got to remember some other podcasts that we've been talking about. We talk about things like TV deals, and the Premier League theoretically had to take less per game on their TV deal, even though they managed to maintain the value of the deal. Across Europe, it's not the same. Those TV deals are.
So how much is this trip to Saudi Arabia worth for La Liga?
The estimates are looking at just short of 60 million euros. By the time you're taking in the 40 million euros that is paid to La Liga, or the Spanish FA equivalent, I don't think it is to La Liga. I think it's the Spanish FA equivalent. Okay. And because I think it's them that host the tournament, not La Liga. I think that's an important distinction.
Right. Okay. So this is their FA Cup. This is essentially their FA Cup.
Well, no, their Super Cup is, I think, under licensed by their FA. Whereas with us, it's separate. We have like a community shield that is, it's just on its own. Theirs is under their FA. So a bit like our League Cup is done by the Football League. They all have their own thing. So it's their FA that own their version. That's Super Cup.
Okay.
I understand. So the money's to them, and then the money's then distributed between the clubs that are competing, which I believe is around €4 million each for competing, and then the rest is pumped back into the Spanish FA for whatever they spend, however they see fit.
Speculate in the comment section.
I know nothing about the Spanish FA to start throwing shade their way.
No, I don't. I would like some speculative
but people tend to trust governing bodies. In my experience.
Yeah. So, okay, that valuation doesn't seem like a number that would attract Premier League just yet.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. You're talking very different financial models, and we've talked so much about the fact that Premier League clubs are able to attack players over the majority of clubs in Europe now, and you've got players that essentially are moving to teams like West Ham and Bournemouth ahead of the Milan clubs, for example. And you just understand the difference in wealth between the Premier League and everyone else, which is, and again, a big motivating factor for why these tournaments are taking place. Because, Barcelona and Real Madrid need to be able to bring revenues to compete, particularly Barcelona.
Yes.
They need these revenues to be able to compete with your Man Cities, your Liverpools, your Chelsea's, other clubs that might be at the top end of the Premier League. So they need this money to compete, and it's another reason why they're making decisions like this.
We're going to see more of it?
Possibly.
To an extent.
I mean, everything seems to be going to Saudi, so I think it's hard to see how they do it, but I'm sure they'll find a way of
the league.
Maybe...
So you mentioned before that they'd cancelled the league matches, but that is something that is going to get revisited again, isn't it? That just is not going to go away, and it is going to circle around to the Premier League at some point. We'll kick off, I think, but
the direction of travel's there. I think it's a little bit of time before we see it in England, to be honest. But I just don't. It just hasn't happened yet. I'd be surprised by the end of this decade if we don't see at least one La Liga and at least one Serie A. And I think they're the two leagues most likely.
They're the two that need to do it, because unless it's Bayern Munich or Paris Saint-Germain, it's not worth doing with any other club.
Well, yeah, I can't see Germany do it for similar reasons I can't see it happening in England.
Yeah,
I think they're the two countries I won't say never, because I think at some point inevitably they will.
There's a number,
but I think it's going to be the most longest before it happens.
There's a number that starts to matter for the Premier League here.
Yeah, I also wonder, because these happen in successive months, don't they? So I think it was a couple of months ago the Italian one, and then it's the and they're both the same: 4 clubs, semi-finals, and then final. I wonder how long it is before they're amalgamated. And it's almost like a mid-season tournament.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's a way of spicing it up. But when you start messing with the league, like that's different. That is everyone's lifeblood, is the league.
Can I say, though? Yeah, the league's different. But what I will say, though, and I've watched both of these, the Spanish Super Cup is compelling viewing. Like, it does work. I think.
How does it work, though? Because we're talking about the 4 best teams in La Liga.
Yeah, but exactly.
What makes it work other than...
They're the ones that everyone wants to watch.
Yeah, but I'd watch Barcelona v Real Madrid if it was a pre-season friendly.
Correct. So you're going to watch it when there's a trophy at stake. A trophy that they definitely care about as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you watched last year's Italian one, which was the Milan derby in the final. I think Tammy Abraham scored the winner.
I think I remember. I remember it. I don't remember sitting there watching it.
Yeah, it was compelling. Like,
what was compelling about it? What you're saying? The fans, the atmosphere, the stadium, that sort of thing.
It felt like a league match, which is what this is what they're after, isn't it? Because there's a difference between a pre-season friendly played thing, which doesn't have that same competitive edge. But I mean, we've just watched El Clasico, and that was as good of El Clasico as I've seen for a long time. Since the one in this final last year that was brilliant as well. But then these 2 El Clasicos in these finals reminded me of the ones that we grew up with.
Okay.
And do you know why that is? It's because it was available for us to watch, because it wasn't on the Liga TV, which is a big thing for us. So that was on TNT Sports, and it's like, and at a time where the timing was brilliant because there was no English football
Yeah.
at that point. So it was everyone, we're all talking about the Liga, and that, in essence, that's showing that it works. So as much as this tournament's had its critics, like I would say most football fans that were watching football were watching that game this evening or yesterday.
So sending the cups out to Saudi is a success for you?
I think it's distasteful.
Yeah.
But I think I don't like it.
But it can work.
But it has worked, I think, in terms of what it's meant to achieve, which is high revenue and more eyes.
So
essentially, a El Clasico Cup final. It has delivered.
We've mentioned this a few times, but our fix for the cups and to pacify the ever-looming shadow of Saudi Arabia coming and trying to take some of our beloved national game away to their shores is to give them the quarter-final round of the FA Cup. We're still there? Because I actually love this idea now. I've grown to love it. You make it the quarter-final series, the whatever you want to call it, the thing where all games are happening simultaneously. You make them over 2 legs if you want. I think they are over 2 legs, maybe, the quarter-final.
No, they're all single fixtures. And they should be single fixtures. And it's over one weekend. And
I'm talking, if we're going to go out there and maximise profit, 1 or 2 games isn't any different. And I think
it could be a massive. And the thing is as well, because the thing against it is not just about the idea of it taking it away from England. It shouldn't be in England, right? Let's take that argument off the table for a minute, even though it's arguably the biggest argument that most people will agree with, right? But let's just ignore that for a second. The other one is that it's unfair, theoretically, on, let's say, for example, Reading got to a quarterfinal and they're up against Arsenal, right? Now, let's say Reading drew at home and they were at the Medeski or whatever it's called now, Select Carl-Eason Stadium. Let's say they were supposed to be there and it was sold out and it would feel like a big occasion for Reading, right? You play that game in Vegas, they're going to quadruple their revenue.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where it makes up for it, because the money that would go to those clubs has been part of this occasion. Each Serie A team that competes in this gets €4 million.
Yeah. Now, that's not loads in Premier League money, but when you look at the lack of money that goes in TV deals in
the distribution deal still hasn't been sorted. Yeah.
Exactly. It's significant.
And this would be the FA as well. So this tournament, this money would go into the FA, into things like grassroots football, that type of stuff. It wouldn't be Premier League. It's the FA Cup.
What I like as well is what I imagine. The quarterfinal is 4 matches. 2. Yes. My head went then. 4 matches, and then you do a draw, and you have 1 in Vegas, 1 in New York, 1 in Florida, 1 in Texas, something like that. And you do a draw for them as well. So you've got the 8 teams left, and you do a draw for the location. You make that a whole thing as well, like who's coming to Vegas or who's coming to Texas or something like that. You can make a whole stuff around it. If you wanted to do America, same with Saudi Arabia and Riyadh, if you wanted to do it in all the stadiums around there. The owls of this world.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I thought for a long time it has legs. And let's not pretend that the FA Cup, it had a fantastic season last season, by the way.
Yeah.
But I think that was a symptom of the fact that there was 3 teams definitely going down. Although it looks like that's happening again this season, as it turns out. It didn't feel like it was going to be like that, but it is working out that way. But that was very much an anomaly. The FA Cup's been on decline for a long time.
Yes.
And all that's happening is we're chipping away at it. So there's no more replays.
Ticket sales for this. Did you see any clips of the Etihad? I know it was 10-1. I know it was Exeter City, but we're talking about Man City here, and the stadium was half empty at best. This wasn't even late on.
You know, even by City standards.
Yeah, it was poor.
It was bad.
So
there's,
that's
I think that there's one again today, which is, I think, a massive game. If anyone's like historical football, like that way inclined, Derby versus Leeds has so much
Yeah.
history of a fixture. And it was, what, 10,000 empty seats?
Really?
I think it's 21,000 there at Pride Park. I'd been there in a league game with Bolton, and it was towards the end of the season when we were both gunning for promotion where they pipped us by goal difference.
Yeah.
And there was 30,000 there. And that's Derby versus Leeds. That's two absolute one-team city clubs, massive clubs.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that it's sacred because the numbers just dictate otherwise.
So we're going to double down on this one because I think it's a valid point. Generates money for the FA for football in this country. It pacifies the want and need of Saudi Arabian influence and involvement in English football because it's inevitable. And it brings a new level of excitement and potentially riches to clubs. It gives clubs an incentive to at least push for the quarterfinals. Because some teams think the third round is their final. Imagine if you had another prospective 20 teams thinking that maybe, look at the draw, I can get a quarter-final here.
It's almost like getting to Blackpool on Strictly.
It is. It literally is. That's one for the ladies, I guess. It's not my thing. Anyway, Liam, it's been lovely, mate. Let's wrap it up there. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I mentioned at the beginning and the middle and now the end. If you'd like to join us on this adventure and be involved in anything else that we do, get in touch in the comment section of any platform that you're listening on. We are mainly on YouTube. YouTube is our home, but you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find the links to all the things at www.fixingfootballpodcast.com. I've been told to stop saying www, but I can't because I'm old.
Who told you that?
Some nerd.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, people know WWE. Do you
sound like such a millennial.
www now?
If you're old like me.
Do you type it still? Yeah.
Sometimes. But that's my IT habits. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Farewell.
We will see you next week. Same time. Sort of.